Today I'm in a car that spans more than 40 years, the Honda Civic. This is the Honda Civic Sedan. And the first time we saw Civic in South Africa was in 1982, even though it was around the rest of the world before that. Hang on, little U-turn. This is the sedan version. The family sedan segment is kind of dwindling. You've only got a few kind of competitors left, like Ford Fusion and VW Passat and everything. Two great cars, in fact. Obviously there are others. So this guy is kind of competing with them, and then obviously the likes of the more premium BMWs and Mercs, etc. And of course the Audi A3 sedan. Woohoo! Let's do this. Don't make a sound. No, but actually what? I'm driving the 1.5 litre turbo petrol sport derivative, and it's sporty. It is sporty. It looks, I think, looks fantastic. I think it is very sporty looking. It even has a little rear spoiler wing thing, which I don't really see why, because maybe it's trying to make it look sporty. It doesn't really do much for its performance. But when you step inside, it's still quite sporty. It's quite modern, yet also has a bit of a classic feel. Something like, and I know they might hate me for saying this, but a car that my gran would drive. But she does, she drives Ballard. It's kind of, I think it's a good thing because it kind of spans through a whole bunch of generations. Because it does feel quite premium in here. The material quality is good. You can slide your finger on it. It's like finger sensitive, if you will. No wonder. I was like, why does it keep moving? That's a cool feature. So there are a couple of things that bother me that might become easier once you're more familiar with them. The touchscreen I struggle with a little bit, especially when you start it. When you start the car, a notice comes up warning you about the driver and being responsible, etc. And you always have to switch that off, which would drive me mad. I wish there could be a default setting that you can click it and it never shows you again, but I don't think so. I'm driving. Another thing where the audio on-off button is just under the vent, and every time I move the vent, my hand turns the radio off, and then I have to turn it back on again. Petty, I know, but really annoying. Your sex is on fire. Well, yes, thank you. The infotainment system itself is pretty simple. I'm not a fan of touchscreens as it is, so I find myself having to press the things a couple of times in order for them to actually click. And if I'm trying to get through to different modes, which is fine because I can do it on my steering wheel, but for some reason now I'm on a setting that every time I press audio, it takes me to the modes and I cannot see the list of radio stations. So I just need to figure that out. Again, once you're familiar with it, you're probably fine, but I do think it takes quite a bit of getting used to. This car doesn't only replace its previous model, but it actually also fills the gap that the Accord has left, seeing as it's been discontinued in this country. This little engine produces 127 kilowatts of power and 220 newton meters of torque. And it's mated to the notorious CVT gearbox. It used to sound like it was just stuck in one gear, and you'd be like, you're like, oh, thank God, changed. This one is far better than the previous generation's CVT, so that's an up. I'm not thrilled with this car. I'm comfortable in it. And I think for me, when anything says sport on it, then I feel like it should be sporty and you know, that's what you're paying for. This isn't that. I don't think it should even have the sport badge on it, to be honest. Hiya! Everything about it does have like a little sporty edge, but if I didn't know that it was a sport and I wasn't paying for anything like that, and I just got this car, I'd be like, wow, it's a sporty, amazing car. But having sport on it just kind of sets that expectation, and you expect it to be a certain way, and then it's not. The rev counter is very cool. Again, quite sporty. and just gives this car that little bit of edge over some of its competitors, I think.
It's 12 past midnight. Don't close your eyes. Your soul's left alive, and I'll be by your side.
It's not the most engaging drive, but it doesn't need to be. It's comfortable, it's well insulated. That's something about a car like the Civic Sedan and family saloons. But this car, I would be super happy to go on a long trip in. And what I love about it is it's also a city car. It's comfortable, it's nippy, it's got more than enough space. The rear seats have got loads of legroom. The boot is 430 litres, which is, I think, enough space. So if you've got a family, it is a car that you could be in. The problem is, with our market, people want compact SUVs. They don't want these low-sitting cars anymore, or as much. But I don't think they should be discounted because, like I say, it's comfortable, it's lovely to drive. The CVT transmission is fine. Motoring journalists have a huge thing about them. Consumers, if you don't have a problem with it and you can drive it, then you're fine.
I want your love. I want your night. I'm taking your heart.
It has a long list of standard features: full leather interior, keyless entry and start, cruise control, climate control. It's got a rear view camera, it's got rear parking sensors, Bluetooth, kind of all the things you need, really, and a few more. And then when it comes to safety, you've got front, side and curtain airbags, ABS with EBD, stability control, hill assist. So you're getting quite a wad of features for your money.
I'll be your wish. I'll be your fantasy. Your favorite dish.
Speaking of which, this car will cost you 430,000 Rand, which is quite a lot of money for what it is. And when you're in that territory, you could be buying an Audi A3, which I've mentioned before. And I mention it because it's so popular and it's desirable. People they want to buy it. Would I buy this over an Audi A3? Probably not. But it's Honda, so it's reliable. You know it's quality. Your resale value will be impeccable. So from that point of view, it's probably the more sensible buy. But not everyone buys with their head. Sometimes you buy with your heart.
You'll never have to run away. You'll always have a friend to play. You'll never go out on your own. In me you will find a home.
This might sound like a really weird thing, but I think women will relate, is the positioning of the accelerator pedal, especially in an automatic. Often, because my feet are so small, I had an ex-boyfriend who used to tell me that they forgot to grow my feet. That's why they're so small. But for me, I struggle because I can't often rest my foot on the floor of the car and press the pedal. I have to suspend it because it doesn't reach, which can be so tiring. And I don't think that manufacturers ever take that into account because they're not probably thinking of people with size 4 feet. And none of the guys I've ever heard them complain. Obviously, their feet are bigger. But one of my female colleagues, Kelly, she used to have the same problem, and it used to bother us both. And when we used to write about it in a review, it wasn't really taken seriously. But the positioning of this pedal is really comfortable. It's why I can say, like, I'm very comfortable, very happy driving this car. And like I've said before, if I test drive a car and it's forgettable, it's great.
Your favorite dish. From the back to the middle and around again.
If you want something that's comfortable, lovely to drive, got space, storage space, all the features that you need, this is worth considering.
100% feel love.
What is on your face? Okay, well, the other side. The other side, please. Other side. What's on your face? Who kissed you? Oh.